Hello, welcome to Five Guys Movies and Fries, where a handful of dudes get together and bitch about movies. Today we are talking about the, what is it, 2016? 2017 American urban fantasy action flick, Bright, starring Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. Probably the best movie to come out of 2017 by one of the best directors, David Ayer. I will be your host today, Jeff. Next to me, I have Knacker.
Hello.
We have Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
And we have Will.
Yo.
So I'm going to give just a very quick synopsis about this movie, and then we can all complain for the next hour here. Bright is a movie that wants to be about race through the lens of fantasy races in current times in LA. The general plot is that two cops, Ward and Jacoby, a human and an orc, get embroiled in a situation involving a wand, which is like the fantasy equivalent of a nuclear weapon, and like kind of a conspiracy, I guess, about the wand, and then trying to keep it out of the hands of people who are corrupted by it. That's honestly about the best I could do, really. Like, it's just very surprisingly bare bones for what it is. Let's see. I'd love to jump straight into thoughts. Why don't we lead with Knacker?
All right. Well, I'm just generally not a fan of David Ayer. I've seen
why.
Fury. I've seen Fury. That's probably one movie of his that has the most praise, which isn't saying much. I mean, a lot of what I don't like about the movie will probably be pretty laid out between all of us. I mean, there's the plot is paper thin. Fucking there's the screenwriting seems like it was done by a 12-year-old. The attention to detail is barely there in some places, and things that I've seen in David Ayer films before, like End of Watch, where incredible driving. That's just first thing I'll bring up is just that when I see people driving in movies, it's nice to know that they're actually paying attention to the road instead of looking at the person next to them in the passenger seat for 5 minutes straight when they're continuing to drive. It's just little things bug the crap out of me with that kind of stuff. But like Jeff kind of mentioned, it seems like the fantasy elements of this movie were just kind of used as gears in the machine to turn the movie where, I guess, in the direction they wanted it to go. There's not a lot good I can say about this movie. It's I like Noomi Rapace. I like Joel Edgerton. I like some Will Smith, not everything, and then that's probably a universal kind of opinion, but it's not great. This was not a great movie, but as I know, it was brought on to be more of a discussion point with how it handles its connections with race and
its themes in general.
Yeah, themes. There you go, themes in general. But no, not thoroughly enjoyed. I'll have fun tearing it apart. I'm just gonna kind of get a look through my notes here, see if with like a screenwriting, I hear lines like, the first thing we need to do is keep that wand away from the bad guys. Like, I understand the term bad guys should be used. It can be used in a funny way in a movie like this. I would expect the term bad guys just to be used to get a good laugh, but instead of saying we need to keep this away from the elves or the general antagonist group, would have made more sense. God, Jacoby is Joel Edgerton, does an amazing job with his role, who I really like, but Jacoby himself is kind of a fucking idiot. I'm amazed he even got through the academy.
He's diversity hire. I think they talk about that.
I suppose. Yeah. But he's a scaredy cat. He's a pussy through the most of the fucking movie. He uses nuclear in this movie. He says fucking nuclear, which is cringe all by itself. He he seems to have, at one point he mentions that the wand has a binding spell on it, which makes sense. But when somebody else touches the wand, and when the, I think it's Poison's band of goons comes to try to grab the wand with their bare hands, and they evaporate into dust, Jacoby somehow doesn't know what that spell is, yet he knows what a binding spell is. I don't know. There's a lot of things where I feel they could have kept up with the intelligence of some characters, but maybe that's asking too much from the way this movie was laid out. I'll probably be able to pepper in the rest of my notes as we go on, but yeah, it just overall opinions is the movie was pretty poorly done. Initial thoughts from Will?
Sure.
Can I ask you a question, Nick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you watch this movie a second time?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I put it on a second time just a couple hours before I grabbed up Jeff here. So
You said you were going to watch it a second time, and
yeah, because I mean, as much as I enjoy watching the movie with you guys, if I'm taking notes, there's moments where I need to pause the movie, go back and rewatch scenes to pick up on details that I want to look back on. So yeah, in most cases, any movie we watch, I'm going to try to put down at least twice.
wow, you're a hero.
Yeah, that's insane.
I'm glad you're convinced.
You're a hero, or you're a real sick fuck, Nick.
I could tell you guys, watching it a second time for this cast was definitely a test of my patience. Really glad we watched it together.
Yeah, I had a blast watching with you guys, and there's no way in hell I'll ever watch this movie again after that. So I don't know. I don't know how the fuck you did that, but more power to you, I guess. If I mean, it makes sense, you know, if you need to watch it again for the notes. But yeah, this movie was bad, boys. Not Bad Boys, which is a good movie.
No, it is Bad Boys. It's Bad Boys with orcs, bro.
Meet Shrek, yeah.
Yeah, it was Shrek. Which is a legitimate quote from this movie. Somebody calls one of the orcs Shrek and tells him to go back.
Shrek-looking ass.
Take your Shrek-looking ass, get back in your vehicle, and drive the fuck home to Fiona.
I mean, that's just good stuff. Yeah,
it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That was a test for our listeners, and if you really did think that was good stuff, you could stop listening to the podcast now. Yeah, no, this movie was fucking rough, dude. Knack, you touched on it pretty well. But like just the screenwriting in general was relatively garbage. I mean, there's several quotes that like at one point he says that's a love song in prison. Like that's supposed to be a good like one-liner response to Jacoby singing. No.
Even if it had been that's a prison love song, would have been a better delivery.
Yeah.
even just switching the words around would have.
And we even get a better delivery of a similar joke when they're listening to that metal shit, and he's like, "That's one of the best orcish love songs ever written."
Yes. Like yeah, it's literally like the same jokes like multiple times too. And that's rough too, because like Will Smith in this movie, I mean, he just does a bunch of Will Smith jokes that he's been doing for like 20, 30 years now. And it's like, come on, man. Like, you gotta find, I don't know. That's kind of your niche, but also like find some new material or something. I don't know.
Learn and grow.
There honestly was a few things that I did like in the movie. That's not to say I'm going to give this movie a very good rating, but I did like a few different things, and we'll touch on those, you know, as we go on. I have to agree that I thought Joel Edgerton did a pretty good job as Jacoby, but I agree with Knack. Like, it didn't work for me that he was so stupid. Like, it would have been a lot. I think this movie could have been significantly better. Not bring it up to over a 5 out of 10, but like it could have been significantly better if Jacoby was more capable. Like, or if he was like a total badass, and maybe Will Smith was kind of like not, or maybe Will Smith was like suffering with shit after having been shot, you know? Whatever. You know, there's a million different ways this movie could have been so much better, and we didn't get any of that, unfortunately.
I feel like I disagree with the both of you, but we'll hit on that when we get to my turn.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I wrote down so many of the quotes from this movie because they were so cringy. There was a couple that were pretty goddamn funny, but for the most part, it was just fucking rough. Yeah, I don't know. That my initial thoughts, like I said, not good. What do you got, Joe?
Well, you know me, I'm a sadomasochist, so I really enjoyed this flick. And I just want to say I had not seen it before. It was not on my radar. Not something I would have ever watched. I'm glad it was recommended, though. This movie is really bad, and it's uniquely bad, because some bad movies, they're so bad that they're funny. This movie isn't even funny. It's not one of those. It's not like The Room or Troll 2 or something like that. It's weird how bad this movie is, and yet it's just painful and awkward to sit through. Like, there's some moments that make me laugh, but I'm sort of like laughing at how ridiculous it is that I'm in this situation watching this. Just how cliched it is, how terrible the writing is. It's so ridiculous it can be funny, and that's the only redeeming thing about this movie. It's painful, it's exhausting, it's awkward, full of cliches. It's overly dramatic. Like one of the it was funny, but like Will Smith is shooting a gun and it just goes to slow-mo and there's an acoustic guitar playing. Do you guys know that part?
Oh yeah, even the lyrics of that song are talking about British pride. I think you hear this acoustic guitar coming in, and then like
it's not Wonderwall, is it? No,
it's not. But I want to mention something about that scene is that Ward asks Jacoby to tell him which order the cops are standing in behind him, and then when he turns around to shoot them, he's shooting in one single direction for like 30 straight seconds. He's shooting in one spot, and even when we get the shot, you know, viewing the actual cops, there's again the lack of attention to detail really bugs the crap out of me with that. But he asks for what order they're in, yet when they go into the close-up slow-mo shot, he's shooting a wall. He's shooting a stationary wall.
That's the only kind of observation you pick up on seeing this movie twice, I believe, because I did not see that. Yeah, it's really dramatic and hammy. Will Smith says like all these cool guy quips, and they just don't work. They either don't make sense or they're so obviously written to be like a cool guy zinger. It's like a 14-year-old boy wrote it. And even the action scenes were really boring to me. Like there wasn't any like close-ups and hand-to-hand stuff. It's just bad on every front. Yeah.
But what about the flips, Joe?
Yeah.
Flips. There was a lot of people flipping. You guys picked up on that. Yeah.
Tika does a record number of flipping in this movie.
I legitimately thought about watching it again and just like having a flip tally.
Flip counter.
How many,
ding, ding, ding.
Holy shit, 10 flips in that one scene.
I would watch the flip cut, but...
Yeah. Because it's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah. Speaking of that, it's a super long runtime. This movie's 2 hours, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
just
that.
about
118. Yeah.
That's wild. And the budget was $100 million, bro. Like, get out of here. Where did it all go? Certainly not into those orc fucking costumes. Like that makeup was not great.
I'm telling you, like I
actually like the orc makeup.
See, and like it was. I'm down the middle of it. I can see how they tried to use a similar pattern to what we see in the Lord of the Rings movies, but with maybe it's the color palette that they're using. It looks like I'm looking at fatigue pants, like camouflage pants.
Yeah. Like I see what they're going for, and I like that they tried something new like that, right? But it just didn't work. It didn't work for me, that's for sure.
So this was like a big budget Netflix movie, and I read that there is a sequel, or there was supposed to be, or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, they intended for one.
Okay, it didn't happen.
Fuck no. Oh man.
Yeah, this it's too long, but that's just a minor quibble because the movie's bad to begin with. Like if it was an hour and a half, it wouldn't be any better. Will Smith is just doing his Men in Black shtick that he's done since Men in Black. Training Day. What's other cop movies he's been in? He's really proof that actors are only as good as the writers and the directors, in my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's necessarily true every single time, but goddamn, was it true here?
I don't like the way this movie looks because you can tell that like everything's fake. It just looks like it's soaked in CGI, and there's this modern digital color grading where everything's gray, everything's muted. I just don't like it. And there's a lot of other movies that are like that in TV shows too. Like every floating particle you can just tell is from a computer. Whenever
Yeah.
there's an explosion, there's all these floating particles. Movies like this have put a lot of good floating particles out of business. Right?
I definitely agree. I did want to mention I did like the CGI on the wand itself. I thought the wand looked cool whenever it was like being activated or whatever. It was just the way that they made the glow on screen look. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, like the
that's kinda
blur
cool
effect
looking.
surrounding it, and
Yeah.
I kind of like that too. I agree. With
Yeah, it was kind of like this pretty blue color too, which like goes towards the like, oh, it's a nuclear weapon, right? Because like nuclear reactors give off like a blue glow or whatever. So yeah, okay, it kind of works there a little bit, I guess. That's all this movie had going for it.
Yeah, it did have a pretty blue. It was very shiny. blue.
Yeah, that's really what I liked about it. Ooh, shiny.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for initial thoughts. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, I got some thoughts, buddy. I think the name of the game with this movie is missed opportunities. This is like every single thing that they tried to do, they failed at in every fucking way. The comedy fails, the action fails, the world building fails, the commentary fails. And it doesn't feel like it's because they tried to put too many ingredients in the stew. Like, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that it's just fucking lazy. It's just a lazy movie. Like, no thought was put into the world building on this at all. Like, none of it makes sense. Like, we were clowning on the fact that like Shrek is a thing and the Alamo happened and shit. And like, for Shrek to be a thing means that we have the entirety history of Disney. Like, none of that makes sense in a fantasy world. Like, how the fuck is Florida still a thing in a fantasy world? Like, no thought was put into that whatsoever.
Yeah.
On top of that, yeah, it just like, if you want the movie to have this social commentary through the lens of these fantasy races, then you need to deliver on that, and it doesn't deliver on that at all. Like, we get none of the elves, we see no oppression from the elves, really. The only elves that we do see are either good guys or like a rogue faction. It feels like this movie was made by elves. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like elf propaganda. It's
Yeah,
like,
it does.
listen, elves are good, but those other ones that are bad, that we're not associated with them. That's our second cousins. They're fucking weird over there. Like, it's just, it doesn't deliver. Like, even like, we get this weird Jacoby Jesus imagery at the end, and then like somehow he's not the savior, fucking Ward is, because if you're gonna have Will Smith in your movie, he needs to be the fucking hero, and he doesn't even get the turnaround that he needs to earn that. You know what I mean? Like, I was just watching the butt end of this movie with Knacker a little bit ago, and like, he's still acting like a racist piece of shit not 20 minutes before he gets that fucking wand. Like, it doesn't make any sense. No thought at all. And it's a bummer because I feel like the idea of this movie could have been done better than this. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
I don't
I
know if
think
it could have been. Go ahead.
I think this movie always fails if they're trying to make fantasy races an analogy to like real races of people, or like skin color. Like that's just not a good way to make a movie. It's a stupid analogy to make. It's always gonna fail. Because like in this movie, obviously orcs, they're violent and they're dumb. They dress a certain way. They're heavily policed. There's disdain when Jacoby becomes a cop. They're trying to make an analogy there, and it's racist. Like if they go farther with it, it's more racist. But just the fact that they went as far as they did is really bad.
It's
Well,
You
and
know,
then to do
it's
nothing
terrible.
with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna like, the first
Maybe.
third of this movie is just beating us over the head with how racist everybody is against orcs, and
Yeah.
then nothing is done with that. it's just established. It's like Chekhov's gun, but it's never fucking fired. It's like, we're just gonna have this here, and like this racism exists. But hey, Will Smith got to use the wand, so that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, these
They
orcs
fit.
blooded Jacoby for no fucking
Yeah,
reason at the
yeah.
end of the movie.
They solved it at the end. He got blooded by those 5 orcs. That
Re-
means that racism's over.
Yeah, that's the way the movie thinks they solved the problem. But yeah.
We get scenes where like right now on this fucking screen right here, Ward is like drives Jacoby up to watch a bunch of orcs get fucking Rodney Kinged in the middle of the fucking street, and then he's like, "Are you on our side? Or are you on their side?" And like, where does that go? Does that
Yeah.
plot thread lead any fucking anywhere? No, it doesn't.
Nope.
It's just, it's fucking lazy. It's lazy. Even the music is lazy, dude. You can't tell me that's orcish metal, bro. You can't tell me that's what orcish metal would fucking sound like. Half the
It's-
soundtrack is just now that's what I call music fucking CD. It's just bad. It's just a bad movie.
But the flips, Jeff. The flips.
So many fucking flips. Just flips everywhere, bro.
And
Release
they
the
were all
flips.
so bad. Though you could like almost see the wires on some of those shots. It was insane.
Yeah, it's like it feels like the movie wanted to be a vehicle to talk about racism in a unique setting, but instead it's just a vehicle for using that setting to make really bad fucking jokes. They still
Yeah.
give me shit over the fucking Alamo. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, ugh.
The orcs are like your average Fox News viewer's interpretation of L.A. in modern 2023.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like this, like imagine a version of this movie where we get to see the orcs like inner lives, and it like shows us that they're not like that, but we don't get that. Instead, it's like we see these orcs as like these fucking gangbangers, and then when we finally actually get to the orcs, they're just fucking gangbangers.
But you do get
You know what-
Jacoby. You get Jacoby.
You do get Jacoby, and I will say the one positive about this movie for me was 100% Jacoby. I actually thought Jacoby's character was handled really well. I thought his performance was great. I think the fact that he isn't as aggressive or outwardly aggressive, I think is a very good thing for his character. I think it shows that he's not like atypical orcs. Like, he is a microcosm of what I would have liked to have seen for the orcs through the entire movie. He's empathetic. He's not toxic in any way. You know what I mean? He's actually intelligent. I mean, the dude speaks Elvish, you know, like he's intelligent and he's there and he pays attention. And that's once again a missed opportunity because we get him bonding with Tika in the movie, but we get like just little snippets of it. And I feel like we could have gotten a lot more meat out of that instead of it just being like him talking to her in the background for a little bit. Cause I liked that relationship and I would have liked to have seen that explored more. Just seeing her open up to them because of Jacoby's empathy instead of Will Smith's really aggressive attitude.
Was
You know?
was Tika the one who's like a mute Fifth Element type character who they
Yeah.
did nothing
Yep.
with? Okay.
Yeah, she all of a sudden speaks English at the end because she trusts them now. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Like I forgot they were carrying her around for during most of the movie. They didn't do anything with her.
Like at all.
That's
They
the
had her
whole
do a
movie.
bunch of acrobats. That
Yeah.
acrobatics, that was great.
Yeah, she did plenty of flips.
Yeah, she was there for
That's
the
true.
flips, bro. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much my initial thoughts, and that's really why I wanted us to watch this movie, is because I thought it would be a unique opportunity for us to look at a movie like this and see how many ways in which it fails and doesn't deliver on any of the things that it tries to promise. And for anybody who's listening to this, if that's something that you would be interested in, this is a good movie, I feel, to really recognize how poorly writing and world building can be handled. Because it just, all of the ways in which this movie fails, I feel like it has on its sleeve. Like, you can just see it right there.
Yeah. I
We've-
can definitely agree with that.
We've touched on it a little bit, but like, how do you guys think that? Is there a way that this movie could have been good? Like, how do you save this movie?
Make it not a cop drama? If it was just like about like normal orcs and humans living their lives, but then we see like a bit of like the what if we saw the racism just from like the orcs' perspective and like what they were dealing with? I think that might make a better movie.
I think if there had been less focus on the plot in regards to the wand, and I think if the movie wasn't so horny to make Will Smith the hero, I think those things could have done a lot to make this movie better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it hadn't treated its audience like complete idiots, I thought it would have been nice. Like I said, the screen, like when Ward has to tell Jacoby to roll up the windows because they're bulletproof, and then 30 seconds later again says as bullets are ricocheting off the window, he says bulletproof dumbass to one of Poison's goons as they're shooting. If they had given any more any real redemptive qualities to Ward towards the end, would have made it better. But yeah, there are ways this could have been done well, but
maybe it wouldn't have made it a good movie, but it would have made it better.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can save this movie because it's just bad writing. When you start with bad writing, I don't see how you can make a good movie from that. The acting's bad. I don't think you can save it.
No. There's like a movie here, right? Like we get rid of David Ayer. We get rid of Max Landis writing it. We probably get rid of Will Smith. Maybe keep Joel Edgerton, and then
I don't know about maybe. You definitely keep Joel Edgerton.
I mean, he was
the
one
good
saving
grace in this movie. I swear to God.
Who taps in?
Taps in? Nobody. Joel Edgerton's the main character, and it just like follows his life.
No, I mean for director.
Oh fuck! I don't know, man. Anybody who can direct well.
Sure. Yeah.
and then John, sure. See, and that's like the thing, though. I don't think this should be an action movie, man. It should have just been like, it's like, it should have been following Jacoby, like he just joined the force as a cop, and then we get like some of the cop racism while he's like at work and stuff, like from the other cops. But then mostly it's about like him like hanging out with his like family and then like dealing with racism outside of work. And like, you know what I mean? Like other stuff like that. I think it shouldn't have been an action movie in any way.
There's definitely a tonal dissonance here because you have like these scenes of like just like cartoonishly evil racism, and then within 10 seconds you're getting dumb fucking one-liners. You know what I mean? Like you can't have something that you want to be that serious and that deep and then have a fucking comedy action movie around it. Like that's not going to work.
Yeah, I've seen, like, I have a theory here. So there's like pictures on the internet where it'll be like a triangle with text on the three corners and it says pick two. And the idea is that only two things can exist together. You can't have all three at the same time. This movie, it's trying to do too much. It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale, but it's trying to be dark. It's trying to be funny, but it's also trying to be a cool action movie. It's you can only have so many of these things.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think this movie fails.
No, absolutely. It's just,
it definitely feels like it's pulling itself too many ways, but I think the issues that it has are just much, much deeper than that, and also way sillier than that. I think it's just fucking lazy. Like, I think David Ayer and Max Landis were sitting in a fucking bar, jerking each other off, drinking beer, and they were like, bro, what if we did a movie about racism with orcs and elves in LA in current times? And they were like, yeah. And then they wrote that on a fucking napkin, and then they got Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, and they said, go. They put no thought into any piece. You know what I mean? Like, it feels phoned in.
We don't even have to write the Will Smith one-liners. Like, we'll just say Will Smith one-liner and just let him go. He'll get it done.
Yeah, Layla didn't feel like an actual villain at all.
Yeah,
she had no villainous presence in this movie whatsoever.
She had like a sentence of text too that like she literally said like 2 sentences throughout the movie or some shit like that. Like it's fucking irrelevant.
It kept setting up the idea of these fucking villains, and not to like the cops are the villains, but then they get killed off like what at the end of Act 1 they get fucking killed off, and then like the elves in a social way are supposed to be the villains, but then the only elves that we really see are good or offshoots, you know what I mean, and nothing's done with that. And then like
other than being just rich snobs and shopping everywhere.
But even then, like the guy who works for the magical FBI or whatever, he doesn't even seem like a bad dude, to be honest with you. Like he doesn't seem like that much of a prick, really.
No, they tried to turn him and the other guy into like the almost like the bad, like the upper echelon FBI types. Like they're just
Magic
bad.
Task Force.
Yeah, like but they weren't. Like they just wanted to get the wand because it's a fucking nuke.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. It's like a movie about how capitalism is bad, but written by rich people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it's
I think what you're trying to, I think what you're really trying to ask, Jeff, like the real question you're trying to ask is, do orcs have mad hops?
oh my god, dude. Get the fuck out of here with this
If you
shit.
act like my enemy, you are my enemy. Who writes that? That's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, just calling it like pig skin. Like it's fucking. Oh my god.
God, dude.
We all just have long, resounding sighs of disgust with this movie.
Yeah, 'cause it's
Ugh.
fucking bad, dude. It's
Blech.
so bad.
We're gonna be like 10 more minutes on this podcast, and then somebody's just gonna be in the background throwing up.
Dude, it's such a waste to watch Joel Edgerton in this movie, just like giving it his all for this garbage.
He's
For
so
this,
good, and like every other thing I've seen him in, he's fucking great. And it's just like, why, buddy? I'm so sorry you wasted your time here.
the only genuine chuckles I got out of this movie were from his line deliveries, like that fucking "How are your holes?" Or when he's
Yeah,
like
that
talking to
was
Ward
pretty
about
good.
how he needs to get some fucking some lovin'. I don't know, like he leans into the character really hard. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Jacoby is a believable character to me, and I really honestly like his depiction. Like if I apply more weight to this movie than it deserves, when you put him opposite Ward, Ward is just this really shitty, racist, toxic masculinity ass motherfucker. And then you have Jacoby as this foil, as this empathetic, sweet, I would argue thoughtful person. You know what I mean? Who like puts
Yeah.
others first and like tries to bond with Tika instead of just dragging her around. You know what I mean? And I do like that. I really do. It's like just a little diamond in this otherwise mountain of dog shit.
Yeah.
Cannot believe they dragged poor Noomi Rapace into this.
That's fucking wild.
Let me see if I have any. I'm gonna take a peek because I do
We're
have
gonna
a little
titty
notebook.
bar gunfight die.
Yeah. I don't understand what the thought process was to have Jacoby be the one who's fucking resurrected, and it seems like such a fumble to have Ward get the fucking wand. I know I keep mentioning that, but it's so blatant.
It's so
The fact that
stupid.
the fact that they couldn't recognize the fact that Jacoby why the fuck is Jacoby pulling Ward out of the fire? It just how do you not see how that doesn't work? How do you look at that and not understand that that is not what this movie has been leading to or wanting to lead to? You know what I mean? For you to not recognize that or do anything about it just shows a complete and total laziness that this movie definitely did not need already. Fucking A.
There's like a part in this movie where the elves straight up murder like 30 SWAT guys, and then as they're running out of the building, they literally stop and pose for a good 5 seconds. Why?
I don't remember that.
Why do this?
Yeah, they're pursuing Jacoby and Ward and Tika, and then as soon as they come to the front doors of the building, the two Layla gets up on her feet, and her two like head goons are right behind her, and they just sort of glare at the
They
camera. for a
just
couple
pose for
Yeah, they just do
literally
this
5 seconds, bro.
action pose. Another thing I wanted to say is that we know that there's this binding spell on the wand that keeps it within a certain proximity of Layla, but yet when we're at the scene where they're in the fog tooth like den in the throne room, there's this like 20-minute scene that plays out, but Layla's nowhere to be found. Like if Layla's kept within such proximity of the wand, how do we not get them getting closer to the orc hideout?
Even just a scene of them, like
Yeah,
driving
again,
towards it or something.
I guess I'm just adding on to the lack of attention, but that's just another thing that bugged me.
Hold on, Necker. Are you trying to tell me that this movie didn't make sense? Get the fuck out of here.
It's moments. It's Michael Bay. You know what I mean? It's just like here's moments that we can have with this setting instead of, I don't know, an actual fucking story. So it's like we could put an orc on Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Or like, it's just it's the back of a high school notebook. You know what I mean? It's something some
Yeah.
kids wrote when they fucking started playing D&D and thought it would make a neat fucking movie. It's just only
Dude,
it's
so,
written by an adult who's made other movies.
yeah, a couple really good movies too. So it's like, what the fuck are you doing here, dude? Did you just like lose it or something? I don't know.
I think a lot of what I see and the issues that I take with this movie feel like Air more than
Yeah.
it feels like Landis to me. Because like, dude, if you watch this and then go watch fucking Suicide Squad, tell me they aren't partner movies.
Well, I mean, shit, it's not like Landis has made a lot of fantastic movies or anything either. So
No, it's just a lot of the issues that I have with this are issues that I also have with other Air flicks.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
no, I can definitely agree with that. Something that really bothered me, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it or felt the same way, but I just don't understand why Tika is helping them. Like they never really gave us a good justification for that. I felt she just like they just like show up, get her, and then she's just kind of part of the group for like from then on. And
Because she would solve any problem.
yeah,
If if she was a part of it, she would immediately be able to because she has the fucking wand. You know
she's
what
got
I
the
mean?
one,
Like it's
and
a
she's
nuke.
a bright.
Yeah, she is the Deus Ex Machina, so they just have her around so that way she can Deus Ex Machina when they need it.
When they need it, yeah. And like, goddamn, if
Just
that's
plot
just
backup.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
once again, lazy writing.
Yeah.
You know
that's
what I mean?
horrible writing. That is textbook bad writing right there. I mean, I got more quotes. You guys want to hear some more bad quotes? We're not in a
Not
prophecy.
really.
We're in a stolen Toyota Corolla.
Oh my god.
What does that mean? That's crazy.
You could just go filthy titty bar die.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I just like you touched on it already, Jeff, but like I got to come back to it one more time. It is so fucking stupid that Will Smith ends up being a Bright. It I mean, you said it. There is no reason for that to be the payoff. It's not a payoff even. It's just fucking horrible writing. He's he is the super expensive action hero that they got for the movie, so he has to end up being like the biggest and best at the end, right? Like that
And
that's so
he
stupid.
they could have pulled that off. You know what I mean? Had they given him a real character arc, you know what I mean? Had it been him dragging Jacoby out of the fire,
Yeah.
had he learned to stop being a racist piece of shit, then that payoff would have worked. Like this motherfucker has never read a story before. Do you not understand what a character arc is? Do you not understand that like there needs to be like inciting incident and like change in the character after the things that they
Yes.
witness and then fucking growth? Like have you never read Hero with a Thousand Faces? Like I just don't understand. Like how do you not understand the core concepts of fucking story writing?
I mean
So
that entire last like sequence where he picks up the wand and everything involving that whole scene and everything was so fucking bad. It just made no sense. It felt so forced. God.
We didn't touch on it, but it's really dumb that this movie's called Bright too, because it's got fairies, orcs, and elves, and then brights. Brights they're not a traditional fairy tale creature.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's like
Oh.
something they made.
They just made it up.
No, it's
Yeah.
just a classification of someone who can wield a wand.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
just about all it is.
Just like it's cool that they like tried to make a little bit of fucking world building there, I guess, but like give us a lot more of that then. You're going to give us like a couple little tidbits here and there. That's not world building. That's just like, oh, this is like a couple things. Build a fucking world for us. God damn it.
I kind of like I don't like, but I just want to mention there's this quote. One of the stupid cops says, "I fought these orcs. My ancestors fought these orcs back in Russia." Like I think they're trying to like build a lore to it, but they also might be trying to safeguard themselves against racism accusations
Yeah.
by saying the orcs are from Russia.
Yeah, and I was about to say, in the context of this being our world, but they're just are orcs thrown into the mix for whatever reason and other fantasy races, why the fuck is Russia a thing? And also, if you were fighting orcs in Russia, Russia's only been a thing for a few hundred to 1,000 years, and they are saying that the orcs, when they had the big war or whatever, that was like several thousand years ago, right? How does that make sense then? That doesn't make sense. Russia wasn't a thing several thousand years ago when you had your huge, fantasy war or whatever.
It doesn't.
Listen, bro. Once with the Dark Lord, always with the Dark Lord.
Gang banging like it's 1999.
It's just. I will say though, the fact that they did that fairy callback at the end, that was pretty good. That was good. I did like that.
That man committed murder on that fair. They are sentient beings, and he beat it to death with a broom, and then he's the hero at the end of our fucking movie.
He's anti-fairy lives matter.
Yeah. Fairy lives don't matter today.
Very topical, very relevant.
Yeah.
God, it just I don't know, man. I think we all kind of agree that there was no saving this movie, but there's something they could have done with some of this shit, but they could have done it so much better.
I think instead of an F, it could have been like a C. You know what I mean? I think if you trimmed a lot of shit and focused on like one aspect of this movie, you could have made a decent movie.
But would that have been
really
more? Agreed, but would that have been more worth it than this horrible movie that had a few cheesy one-liners that are funny because
would have made it easier to swallow?
Bad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I am glad that this movie is as bad as it is, and I'm glad that we watched it specifically because like we're trying to grow as like reviewers, and I think for that I'm thankful for this movie. You know what I mean? I'm thankful that we were able to watch this absolute trash fire of a movie and learn to recognize where these failures are and be able to discuss where these failures are. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, we kind of need movies like this to, like you said, to develop.
Well, and palate cleanse. You know what I mean? We watch nothing but bangers all the time. It's nice to watch a shit fire movie.
Movies like this have to exist so that the world knows what a good movie actually is.
Bright walked so the fall could run. You know what I mean?
Yes. Bright fell on its face so that the fall
Bright
could
took
run.
one step and face planted.
Bright shitted itself so that way the fall could run.
Yeah. So the fall could fly.
Nice. Bright, more like shite.
Yeah. What was my thing? It was bright, more like right in the trash.
Oh man, this was a stinker.
Let's wrap this up, boys. Do we want to do ratings?
Wrap it up, B.
I'll go ahead and lead by giving this a solid 2 Joel Edgertons out of 10. I want to give this movie a solid 1, but I genuinely very, very, very much like Joel Edgerton in it. So I'll give it an extra point just for the edge.
Fair. I'm gonna give it a solid 3.2. No, oh man, 2.9 titty bar gunfights out of 10.
3.5 flips. Yeah. 3.5 flips out of 10.
I just gotta say, like, if you're giving it this many points, what is a 0? I'm giving this movie a 0. Yeah.
A 0 is just a blank screen of white for like the entire hour and a half.
Okay.
Things happened in this, and I had a good time watching it with you boys, so that probably pumped my numbers a little.
Well, if I'm watching a blank screen, my imagination can run. It's sort of like that John Cale piece of music where there's no music. So I would prefer that to this, honestly. I give this a 0. I never want to see it again. I don't care about it. I think it's bad.
Yeah.
Agreed. I don't know though, man. I don't want to stare at a screen for like an hour and a half. Then I'm just gonna get in my own head and like.
I'll tell you,
I don't want to be in there.
A blank screen would piss me off less than this movie does.
It's less problematic.
I get so angry every time fucking Will Smith drops a one-liner. Every time they fumble a fucking step, it just pisses me off.
What if the white screen turned to a black screen after half an hour?
Yeah.
Does that piss you off more? Does that work for you?
I don't know. That would be more narratively dynamic than Bright.
This movie has 2 acts. Wow.
At least relate to the whiteness.
White
screen. I went there. I did. Did we all get our ratings down?
Yeah.
Did we all put our ratings down? Are we ready for what's coming up.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Last in our fantasy run, I'm hoping this is a real treat for you guys. My pick is a movie from 1940 called The Thief of Baghdad.
I don't know jack shit about this movie.
I'm
so-
hoping none of you guys have seen this, but I saw this movie as a probably when I was 6-7 years old. But yes, The Thief of Baghdad is our next selection.
I'm excited.
Thanks for listening.